This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, May 1st, 2018, episode 172. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us here on Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Joining me this evening, I know it's a real shock. It's only been 171 weeks. Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Good. Actually, this is 172 weeks.
Correct, but you've joined me 171 weeks in the past.
That's true.
Brian, I found out an interesting fact this week when we were playing board games. Your lovely wife joined us, and we played some games, and it became apparent after I'd asked her the question that she has never listened to an entire episode of this podcast.
When she walks up to the door here and goes like this,
that's her listening.
Watch, it is like 7:15.
That's when she listens
for dinner. That's when she's listening. So when she's standing there and she hears me talking, kind of in our after show. Usually it's the after show.
Interesting. Okay, well, I just thought that was an interesting little fact. So, how are you?
Yeah, I am doing well. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, or of course you can go to my blog, biteoftech.com, and of course you go check out our website. We have on there links to our Discord, our Steam group, which is nice for notifications of when the live show is getting ready to start. Sometimes we usually don't use it for notifications of our Friday night game night. Hopefully, if people are wanting to get into that, they are actually on our Discord because they should be joining us on there anyways. And if you do want to join our Discord, we have a nice little green button on the right-hand side of our website. It just says join server, and that will connect you right into our Discord. You can join in the mobile app. You can join with the web-based client that just is only open when you open up that web page. Or you can go have a nice desktop app as well. That's very low weight. If you want to exit out of it when you're not using it, it doesn't run anything else in the background if you exit. So it's a nice and easy to use program, totally free, and it's got a really nice set of tools. People this week especially have been putting tons of news. We have a news channel in there, and so people have been posting all kinds of news in there, and we kind of talk and gab throughout the whole week, post memes, have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's off topic. Be aware that there is conversations outside of the show. There's political talk. There's there's meme posting. There's people post odd music videos. We make fun of each other. It's not. It's a very casual place. So if you're looking just kind of a place to screw around and hang out with a couple of other people on a day-to-day basis, we've got a pretty solid group of people inside of our Discord here. And again, links for that is links for that infectionpodcast.com. And I do want to thank everybody. I can't name everybody that put news in the news channel this week, but we had a whole bunch of submissions in there. And it helps us when we had busy news week last week at the end of the week. Yes. And when those things happen, it helps us when everybody throws the links into the news channel instead of the general channel, so that Tuesday.
That way, because the general channel is just, there's so much stuff posted on a daily basis in there that I can't scroll back and find it. So putting it in the news channel is really nice because I can go through and make sure I didn't miss anything in our show notes each day.
Now, I do, real quickly, right as we were starting the program, our friend PHVCK resubscribed for 2 months, and then our friend MDC, who we had a chance to play some board games with Saturday night, also subbed to the channel. So thanks to both of them for subscribing, and our boy Donnie giving us the host here right before we started the show. So thanks everybody for that. And Brian, I got to tell you, I have been playing plenty of video games this past week. I played Fortnite for almost 3 hours last night with a buddy of mine. We'll get into that a little bit later. But before we get into that, we'll talk about our previous game of the week, which was Darwin Project. And I'll tell you, Brian, I am hooked on this game.
It's fun, huh?
It's a lot of fun. When we played it originally, there was I don't the game wasn't finished. And to any point, it's not finished per se, but it's a much it's a much better experience than I remember from now. What also may have fed into it, I was able to play with more people than just you, because when we played, but when we've ever played in the past, it was just you and I. Exactly. We had a very limited group of people that had access. So in this case, we were able to play. We did a couple of private matches, which were the kind of like the 6-man free for all, 5, 6, 7-man free for alls. Without a show director, that was fun. We did a couple show director games where you were the director, and it was the show director and 5 or 6 people, and as well as playing a couple of games online. And I'll tell you, the duo system is fun.
Yep.
The one thing, and people that have listened to this program for a long enough time know this about me. I've said this about games over and over and over again. I love casual games. I love a game that I can fire up, play a round of, and stop playing if I want, and walk away. I really appreciate that. As much as I love PUBG, I'm not always looking to invest 45 minutes into a game and not see anybody. So with the Darwin Project, I've played about 9 hours of it since, including Friday night where we played for a little while. So I've played a significant amount of this game. I played it Friday with Game of the Week, streamed it for a little while, then played on Saturday and Sunday and had a really good time with it. I think we've got a real winner on our hands here, Brian. I know it's early. I know there's a lot of competition, but this game is a lot of fun. It's free, which is a huge help. And I think when I've been doing the Lord's work and been telling people about it, I played Fortnite with a buddy last night, and I said, "Well, have you ever heard of the Darwin Project?" He's like, "No." So we'll go check it out. It's free. I mean, what do you have to lose? So that's my impression of Darwin Project. I know you weren't able to join us for many games on Friday night, but you've played this in the past.
Played it before.
You played it. I mean,
and one thing that I've said about this for a while now is this is a really good community builder type of a game, because when you play it with friends, this is the type of game that when you play it with friends, unlike PUBG where you're always on the same team pretty much as your friends when you're playing with them, this we're actually playing against each other, and it's streamer friendly. It's one where when we were playing, there was people that used to say, "Oh, that game looks like it's no fun." But when they got in there, they're like, "This is good. This is a lot of fun." And I think once you get in there and you realize how the environment works for you, as far as like in the cabins, they have those little screens that show you where people are. They have where you can run around and use different clue finders. Like if you go access something that someone looted, it gives you kind of an X-ray vision of where they're at. People around you might be at. You can follow tracks. Like there's all kinds of stuff that you can do in here. And so I think the longer and the more you play it, like you become more perceptive to those things and you start to see it and you just become that much better of a player. When you're first playing, you don't really know, you're stumbling across everything. So I think it's a game that once you get a couple in, it just becomes more and more fun and you get kind of more skill and you have a better chance of winning. It's not all about being the best shot. There's a lot of strategy you can do in this game as well. So I think it fits to a number of different play styles for different people. So maybe you're not a person who likes to run in and kill people immediately. You can kind of play the long game on this, build up your armor, build up the different weapons you have, and then maybe go for a big strong fight in the very end of the game. So it's not like with PUBG, very consistent the whole way through. You can drop quickly, have a quick battle, or at that point it's the long game because everybody's kind of spread out, and then you're waiting towards the end of the game when everybody's forced together again. This, if you want to go and you see a little radar and you see somebody, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go find him. I'm gonna go hunt that person down in that zone." You can do that. You can play that, and it can make the games And how long would you think they are? They're not super long.
I've won games in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah, and that's nice. I think that helps because it's not a 45-minute commitment.
Yeah. Now, this is some gameplay that I streamed on Friday night. I don't remember what this fight was specifically. But you can see these clues, and I think I'm going to use one right here. Yes, I am perfect. So at this point,
but also look at the snow behind you. It was perfectly smooth snow, and the snow. It's not like you can turn around because this is recording.
Yeah.
But you can see at the feet when the camera goes certain angles. You can see that it's dipping the snow in where you ran. There you go. So there you can see right in front of you. Yeah. That's you could follow that trail after someone's left and track somebody. And this game is all about tracking and trying to. And you can see there someone got shot, and so it's like blood drips. There you can follow their blood trails. It's just got a lot of cool little things like that. That once you master it, it helps you to be really good at the game, and it makes it so you actually have a pretty good chance of winning, I think.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here, I'm in a camo mode right now, actually, and you can see those lightning footsteps. I'm looking at my HUD right now. I don't have any arrows, so I'm pretty useless. But you can see the footsteps being traced around, and I think I get killed right here. Yes, I guess I do. But you can see how this plays out. And this is a duos I'm playing with my buddy Sean, and you can just kind of see how this works out. You find another group of 2 people, and you shoot arrows at each other, and you eventually run out of arrows, and then you start hitting each other with axes. Cool thing, there's no weapon pickup. There's no weapon pickup. You get a bow. That's the start, and you get your axe, and then you
and you can pick a couple different kind of arrows.
Yep, you pick different arrows, but there's no looting per se. The only loot is you chop down tree. There's a couple loot. You chop down trees. You salvage these love seat chairs to get fabric, or what is it called?
Leather.
I don't remember what they call it, but wood and like a material, like a cloth, a fabric, I think is what they call it. And then there's a couple of like loot boxes that you can find that are pretty rare, and you just craft your arrows and you go this way. It's just the game is very, very casual, and that's what I really like about it. Let's see if I can fast forward to another game while we're talking about this, because I do want to show some of the other cool features. But I mean, overall, I'm very impressed with the game.
Yeah, and MDC points out you can kill the deer and loot them.
Yes, and you get health for killing deers, for killing deer. So you can see here, this is there's these drops throughout the game. This is what they call an electronic, and there's a couple of different power-ups that you can make with this electronic. At most, there's maybe 6 or 8 per game, depending on how long the game lasts, and if a show director is putting these in. So at this point, I'll probably go ahead and make some type of... And you can see that arrow fly by my head there, because it's got a trail behind it. And you just kind of see how this plays out. The game is very casual, which fits my play style perfect. There's literally ESP. You can look at an item that was looted by somebody and see where they are at any given point. There are radars throughout the map where you can see every other player. So this is not meant to be a hardcore survival game. This is not meant... You can see I'm being tracked right now, so somebody could see my exact location where I was just standing there. ESP through the entire world. This is not meant to be an Arma 3 war simulator. This is not meant to be PUBG. I don't even think this is meant to be Fortnite. This is incredibly casual, and the big push appears to be, playing with friends and just kind of
streamers. I think streamers is going to be the real big draw to this as well. I think it's just not really been discovered by streamers, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, that right now the streamers are really inundated with, you have to play Fortnite.
Yeah, because Ninja's playing it. Yeah.
And plus they're being paid to play it right now. I think Epic is paying a lot of people, a lot of streamers.
They'd be smart to
play Fortnite, to keep it active and to keep it popular. And so I think that but I also mentioned, I remember mentioning this a couple weeks ago, that this kind of opens up a window of opportunity. Everybody's playing Fortnite, and so you have an opportunity to be one of these original people playing this game.
Yeah.
have people check out a new experience and be there a little bit before everyone else, because right now everybody's playing Fortnite, and I don't know how long that's going to continue. I think it'll continue as long as they're paying, and I think Epic is willing to pay for a while.
Yes.
So
So I guess I'd love to continue to talk about Darwin Project, and in the coming weeks, as we've got some more time, we will as we go through the coming months. But we do have a whole bunch of big breaking news to get into this week. So we'll jump into that right now, and if we've got some time later on in the program, we can come back to Darwin Project. But that's the Darwin Project. It's free. It's on Steam. Go ahead and download it. Highly recommend. I'll be playing it throughout the week when I have some free time. So if you're in Discord, at me in Discord and ask if I want to play in the evenings, and there's a good chance I'll be around and would love to play. So, I mean, that's all I can say. Really positive. I'll repost the interview that we did with them on Twitter a couple times this week, because that's that's what we did. And we were kind of on top of this before a lot of other people. And Brian really, more than me, well, the 100% more than me, saw the potential on this.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I don't know if I don't remember if it was in the interview, but right after I had played it, I went up to their lead developer, the guy with the big beard, and I said, I think you've got something here. You did a really good job. I think this is going to be successful.
Yeah.
And he got kind of a funny look on his face, because I don't think they've heard that yet.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. I mean, I'm not just blowing smoke up Brian's rent here, but no, really. I mean, Brian really did, when he first saw this game, was kind of blown away, and I mean, I was a little suspicious. I was like, oh, I mean, this looks all right. But now that I've actually had a chance to play it, it's I don't know. I really enjoy it, and what we said last week, and again, we got to move on, but what I was saying last week and what I'll continue to say about this game is it's just different enough that I think it can rise to the top. Yeah. And that's kind of where
it's hard to be different let's say, as a BR.
Yeah, very hard
nowadays, because they are all so similar. And I think that's the issue, is all these BRs are on the market, and they're not that different from one another. They're all kind of the same thing, maybe with a different skin on it. Rehashed in a slightly different way. You might have a little bit different weapons. This one is actually fairly unique for being a BR. I don't know of another game that feels like this game. So I think that's going to help it a lot in the future.
I would agree. All right. Well, moving on to the big story of the week. This is something that kind of hit the internet by surprise. And I'll say before we get into it, I'll say what it is, and then we'll say. So we're going to be discussing now. We're going to spend a decent amount of time discussing the layoffs at Daybreak Game Company. And what I'll say before this is, everybody has to, it's nice to play. Oh, I was right. That's what happens when you make a crappy game. You deserve it, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you're talking about people's lives that are affected, families that are affected. I mean, there's real impact here. This is more than just a crappy patch where the game is broken. This is people that, I don't know. I've never been fired from a job. I haven't had a long enough professional career, but I can imagine for a point in time, that's a life-changing thing, especially for a lot of these people that have been employed for 10, 15, 20 years almost by SOE work.
Especially living in a place like San Diego,
very expensive,
where it's incredibly expensive. So you not having income for 1 month is very different. It's not $600 rent.
Like I have. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, this is thousands of dollars just to have a house. And then the cost of living there is so expensive. So this is actually something pretty dramatic to a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And for them, like, they instantly have to think about, okay, well, do I need to move? Like, I can't just exist here. Like, you don't just exist in a lot of places down in California.
So this all broke on the 26th, which was last Thursday. Tweets started rolling out on Twitter. A couple of people that we've followed a lot of what they've done on Twitter. We follow them on Twitter, follow them on Reddit, and see their updates that they post. I'm not going to go through the names because it's just too many people. But yeah, a couple tweets here. Today was unfortunately my last day at Daybreak Games, so I'm officially up to new any opportunities. Laid off at Daybreak. Who's hiring? I was unfortunately hit off by the layoffs at Daybreak today. It was a great 6 years. and just going on and so on and so
I mean, there was
forth.
somebody at 9 years, 6 years. These aren't all the fresh new employees. We had people from like the head of their anti-cheat department, some of their lead developers. Like
Now,
this is very evenly across the company. It's not like they just said, okay, all interns are gone.
yes, exactly.
This is a lot of names that you would recognize right off the bat.
Now, the source for a lot of this information is a blog that has done an unbelievable job. We've been referencing them a lot in weeks past. They've been really on top of stuff. It's massivelyop.com. Their name is Massively Overpowered. I reached out to them to try to get somebody on the program this evening to kind of bring us through the timeline to have maybe another voice in the conversation. But I'm going to go through a couple of these updates here. So, obviously, there was the people on Twitter tweeting about the layoffs, so on and so forth. But the Massively OP had a response from Daybreak here where Daybreak confirms that we are realigning our workforce to better position our company for the future. A Daybreak spokesperson said in an email to Massively OP. Because of this, we had to make an extremely difficult decision to part ways with some of our employees across various parts of the studio. We are doing everything we can to take care of the affected individuals by providing them appropriate transition assistance, probably a severance package if I had to assume. Daybreak remains focused on publishing and developing large-scale online games, and we will continue to service our existing and long-standing games and franchises. So that was kind of the response, which is a typical canned response for a company that's firing people. Now, going through with this, this wasn't just the H1Z1 team, which was a lot of the speculation right off the bat. This, according to the spokesperson, all of the studios were affected. People from EverQuest were laid off. People from PS2 or PlanetSide 2 were laid off. People from the H1Z1 team. And I would imagine people that are working pretty closely with the PS4 version of H1Z1, which is supposed to be launching here within the next couple of weeks.
And they're saying that it's still on track.
Yes, they are.
Supposedly everything is still going as it was. And my concern here is that, well, first of all, I've heard, and this has been, it's hard to know right now what's rumor and what is 100% fact, right? Because Daybreak themselves are very tight-lipped about this. They're not saying anything. I mean, from that press release, it's cut and paste. Here's what you say.
Typical HR
responses. Yeah. And so some people are saying, well, I heard this from an inside source. I heard this from an inside source. And supposedly Just Survive is very close to getting the axe.
Yes.
And it would sound like it because I don't know of any employees that are left in Just Survive. I haven't heard anyone other than maybe a marketing, person who does Reddit posts.
And we'll jump into that a little bit later because there is one post, and we'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes, and some new information within the last couple of days. Now there is an update on this Massively OP article, and there'll be a link in the show notes to all this so you can go through the timeline. But MMORPG.com had a source that claimed that Daybreak was currently in the talks of getting acquired by a couple of studios. So that they're claiming that could potentially be a factor into the layoffs, is trying to cut some. This is going to sound bad. Again, these are people's lives. I'm not saying that, but cut some dead weight out of the company. I'm not saying those people were dead weight, but in order for the acquisition, we've got to cut people for the acquisition. So that may have been part of that if this MMORPG source and article is accurate. Now, the estimated numbers are what is staggering to me. So according, again, to massivelyop.com, according to a couple of their own sources, they were under the understanding that a number of people were laid off. It was around 70 people. Which
I heard between 70 and 100,
which is incredible. That is a lot of people. And I would imagine in the case of Daybreak, we've seen a couple of staff shots. I don't know if that's just the H1Z1 team, but 70 people has got to be close to, if not half of the workforce. And we saw a lot of tweets of people that were fired, but I'd say we only saw maybe 20 tweets, 25 tweets from people. So you're still talking about a massive number of people that are going to, or that were affected by this, that aren't even in the public eye. You've got people that are just programmers that have been working on games like EverQuest and PlanetSide and H1Z1 for years and years and years now that were affected by this as well. So
here, on LinkedIn, the company size says between 201 to 500 employees. So it fits in that realm where, it could be 210, because it sounds like it just gives you
Yeah, that's how they kind of do it.
chunks.
Yes, that's how
Um,
LinkedIn works. Yeah.
and so that could be close to, I just said, up to half of their workforce. I mean, that very likely could be. And you got to think of all the other positions that are in what they consider an employee.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Absolutely. So you're talking about a massive, massive staff cut here. Um, now the next part of this is we've got to revert back to something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and this is back to the conversation of no affiliation between Columbus Nova and H1Z1. We had this conversation last week. We talked about it, but since then, there's been some things that have come out about it. Daybreak has removed Columbus Nova from all of their PR stuff. And I believe we read the statement last week that H1Z1 said it was a mistake that they labeled
and
it.
Claiming that they have, and I kept hearing that there was no affiliation. And then I kept hearing that, that the Epstein purchased all the shares. I don't know. That's the thing. It's been contradicting. It sounded like they first claimed that there was no affiliation ever, and that it was purely a mistake, and that originally it was purchased by Jason Epstein, from the get-go, and they figured, well, we'll just announce it as Columbus Nova because he works for that company.
It may have been that, and if that's the case, that's just poor business practices. So even as much as their privacy policy from 2015 referenced that all of your personal information is being owned and accessed by Columbus Nova. So there's going to be a lot. I mean, and honest to God, it wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some type of class action lawsuit against them, because this privacy policy, you could now make the argument that they were illegally giving your information to a third party company without your permission. Because if they're claiming that Columbus Nova had no affiliation with them, yet they were.
And who was?
Well, yeah, exactly. Who's got all the information?
You're giving rights to a company that supposedly had nothing to do with it. Yeah. And therefore we didn't give any rights to them to have our information. I mean, is what you could legally say. We never signed anything that says that you guys are allowed to do anything with our information.
Yeah. So, well, obviously I don't think anything will happen with that. But who knows? So we've been following this, and there's just a lot all going on at the same time.
And I mean, I've been looking. I put a post on here that has just tons of legal paperwork for like companies they're owned by the same person. So like Epstein, all these other companies, and this guy just found everything that he has. Like Columbus Nova is an alias is RME Finance. Like he's been tracking this down. So if you feel like digging through any of these documents, we'll have it in our show notes as well, of just somebody who's they're just trying to dig and figure out, because it still doesn't feel like we have the truth, right? It just doesn't make sense. If it made sense, if they just came out with something that says, here's the paperwork back from 2016 or whenever it happened,
when they were acquired,
2015, of us, being purchased by him, and you can see it does not say anywhere on here Columbus Nova, but they haven't provided a single thing.
And to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter a whole lot who actually owned it or didn't, in my opinion.
Well, it does when it comes down to the Russia.
I agree with that. I'm saying in terms of us, it doesn't really matter who owns or owned it at any given point. What's so frustrating to me is the fact that their privacy policy and all of the footers on their website, all of this information said Columbus Nova. And then they are questioned and taken to task on that claim, and their response is, no, we never said that. No, we were never owned by Columbus Nova. We just said we were, but we weren't, and which is bizarre to me. I don't really understand how that's even a possible thing.
This brings up something that I've heard, and I've heard this from kind of people doing some conspiracy on YouTube. But I keep hearing, is there a possibility that this is a money, pretty much, that Daybreak turned into a money laundering operation for Russian funds?
Absolutely, that is very possible.
Because that's something I remember saying it. Remember, I mean, I brought it up in the podcast a lot of times. How can this company allow Daybreak to continue running this manner? That it's such a sloppy way. Like, they got to look at the bottom line. And for them, if they looked at Daybreak, they'd say, this is losing money.
Yeah,
There's
hand
no
over
point
fist.
in keeping this around. And I said, if they're truly an investment firm, like, they got to be coming to a point where they're going to say, we just got to get rid of everybody. And maybe they got rid of a lot of people, but did they let it go for so long? Because it was a way, and I saw that people discussing, well, look at the whole loot crate system. All they had to do was dump money into these loot crates, the Russian funds, and then it turns into American money instantly. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would make sense. And Daybreak we're always wondering, who's buying all these loot crates? Who is buying these? Like, they were making just tons and tons of money on these loot crates, and I never understood who's buying them all. And it'd be interesting to see if there is any kind of investigation. I don't know if it's worth anybody's time, and it might be worth, if they're worried about Russian involvement, there may be an investigation. But it would be interesting to see, okay, where was your money coming from? Where was your money going? Once it came into your pocket, where did it go back to? Like, these are things that you just don't know. And that's the perfect thing for a money laundering outfit. That's exactly what you want people to not know. Where's the money coming from and where's it going? And I don't know that it is, but it would make things make a little more sense of why they let a company be run so poorly for so long.
I see. I think what you just said is what's so frustrating to me is you're describing there's so much stuff that's going on. I can't even wrap my head around all of it. Like,
yeah,
you either were or weren't owned by a company, and you said you were, but you weren't. Now you're denying it. Yada yada yada. Back and forth. Then you fire anywhere between 70 and 100 staff members. There's just way too much. And I mean, this is how conspiracy theories and stuff start. Is you've got all of this. It is shady activity. When you originally said and held on to the statement for 3 years that you were owned by a specific company, then when that company is under fire, they were being investigated by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, you say, oh no, we weren't owned by that company. We were owned by a guy who's a managing partner in that company. That is very shady. And under any circumstances, that is shady. So there's just a lot of questions to be asked. Daybreak's not going to talk about it. Somebody mentioned to me, oh, you should reach out to them. There's no point in reaching out to them. They have no interest in talking to us.
Talk to us.
They're not going to talk to us. They're not going to talk. They're not talking to anybody about it. Because I mean, I'll Brian's assumption, not as if an assumption, Brian's theory on it. It sounds very plausible. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go into the specifics with the loot crate stuff, but it does seem plausible that, hey, this could have been used as some type of other outlet, because now you're seeing total radio silence from a company that was incredibly active and vocal.
And with a short period of time. I mean, it's such a short period of time.
2 weeks.
With the 2 weeks of saying, hey, this was owned by a Russian investment firm. Their funds are going to get frozen. And then half their staff gets laid off. Yes.
But we weren't owned by that company.
But we weren't owned by them. But all of a sudden now they don't have money. I mean, what if it was totally legit on the up and up, it's just bad timing. I mean, all of a sudden they have all these things that they're defending against, and then instantly right after, tons of people are being laid off. It just does nothing but confirm people's feelings, and it does nothing but encourage those conspiracy theories that people have of, man, there's got to be something else going on beyond this.
I mean, I've seen
it makes sense that if something seems wrong and something seems off, then it probably is, because everything here seems off.
I've seen a series of events lay out in front of me in a total coincidental matter, and it was mind-boggling to me. I'm not saying that that's not possible here, but it is very suspect that within a month of the FTC going after a couple of Russian oligarchs and their companies, that Daybreak has reverted who they were owned by and has literally laid off 70 to 100 people. That is, I mean, I'm not ruling out that this is all on the up and up, and this is just a series of unfortunate events all unfolding in close proximity. But I mean, if Brian, I am a gambling man. I believe I have a gambling addiction. I learned that when I was in Vegas. I would bet I would bet money I would put good odds on the fact that there was some other type of business practice going on here. This is pure I mean, I'll add to
that funding source has cut out.
Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, speculation, and more each and every week. I mean, I will speculate to the fact that there was some odd business practice going on here. I'm not saying that the Daybreak people knew of this. I'm not saying that Adam Clegg is guilty of money laundering. There is a good chance, and in most cases, the company that the money is being laundered through has got no clue whatsoever that it's even happening, because it's being controlled by the top. There's no indication, there's no way to even know that this was being laundered.
They get a double payback too, because imagine they're like, we're just going to throw money into these skins, right? They're buying crates to get skins, and then they can turn around and sell those skins for even more money, right? And the skin market went crazy. We saw people, and they don't have to know, they just think their game is insanely popular. Look at all these skin sales we're getting. Look at how many people have purchased the game. All they have to do is have people purchase the game and whatever inside of their things, purchase tons of crates, and then that money is in the company, and it seems legit. They don't have to vouch for, it's not like campaign contributions. They don't have to vouch for where the funds came from over Steam or wherever else. All it has to do is they receive the money. Okay, now it goes to the investment firms and it pays for this company.
Yeah.
And they were making money hand over fist for a period of time.
And again, I'll continue to say this as we talk about it, because I want to make sure we're clear. This is pure speculation. Brian and I, I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for Brian. I have no inside source with Daybreak. The last time we spoke with Daybreak was when they were on our show, probably 140 episodes ago, 130 episodes ago. We've had no communication. Actually, the last time we talked with them was when we were getting we were trying to get our private clan server set up. Walker Empire, not Walker Empire, Dysfunctional Union. When we tried to get that set up, that was the last time I believe we've talked. That's the last time I've talked with Daybreak. I've tweeted at them multiple times. I've direct messaged them. I haven't heard anything back. We've emailed. We haven't heard anything back. Tried meeting up with them a couple of them at PAX last year. Didn't hear anything back. So I'm being completely transparent with, I have no inside information. Now, we've tweeted back and forth with some developers from Daybreak, but we've never heard from Daybreak as a company themselves. We've heard from the individual people, but their Twitters are not owned by Daybreak.
We tried to get a hold of them at PAX last year.
Yes, we did.
We blew us off.
Yeah, we absolutely did. I wanted the opportunity to meet Adam and Greg. Were both at PAX. They were both on our show. We wanted to say hello and shake their hands.
They're too busy at the bars.
Yeah, leaving codes. So, nevertheless, it does appear that something fishy went on, and unfortunately, because of that, and even if that wasn't the case, you're now talking about 70 to 100 people that are now unemployed in a very expensive city in an incredibly tough marketplace, which is video game development. I mean, everybody...
And it's not great having Daybreak as your last employer probably on the resume.
Well, it depends what you worked on. I would say if you were an
maybe with asset design or something,
I would disagree.
They created, but the thing is, they created assets that were up to par, but then when they brought them in the engine, then everything was.
Well, I would say
bad.
If you were an EverQuest 2 or a PlanetSide 2 team member, those are two very successful games. EverQuest is incredibly successful.
Yeah, but you got to think of the technology. They would be so far behind. On technology. That's what I'm saying is either you worked for H1Z1, which is their more recent. Maybe all the people from Landmark are already gone. If you were working on EverQuest, like you've been stuck in a company with technology that is now 18 years old. Like
Yeah.
you're working on technology that's 18 years old. So you leave this company, you turn around and say, I'd like to work for your game development company. Okay. Do you understand Unreal? No. Okay. Do you understand all these
Forge Light.
technologies? Yeah. I worked on Forge Light. Okay. What games are run on that? And you're listing off games that were popular from 1998 to, H1Z1 is the most current one you can say, and you can still say that's really behind when it comes to the way games are developed. You take a look at a game like Maverick and their games, what they're describing when they talk about the processes of doing these very advanced things. None of that is even close to a concept of anything that these guys are doing at Daybreak. Like those are so foreign from each other because the technology is so different that they would have to be retrained. A lot of them would have to be retrained to be able to understand or think in the proper way to be able to work in these new companies. So I don't know. I just think it's not a great thing to have on your resume to say I worked at Daybreak, because I think I'd be worried that the people hiring would say, all right, well, that we're going to have to retrain this person or train them in how to operate all the new stuff. And there's no kegerator in our break room.
Yeah, that's a low blow. So yeah, there's a lot of there's this company called Renova Group, which is one of the companies that was hit by the sanctions that the United States put on these foreign oligarchs, and a cached Google page from February of 2018 says that Renova Group owns Columbus Nova. And it says Columbus Nova is an investment firm with over $2 billion of assets under management. Founded in 2000, Columbus Nova has offices in New York, LA, and Charlotte. So there's just a lot of speculation. Well, it's not even speculation. I mean, there's a lot of facts. I mean, Daybreak wants to sit here and put up a smoke screen and say, "Oh no, we never said this." As I'm reading through this Massively OP article, the Massively OP claims, based off somebody's Google webcache.google.com URL, which is a cached page of this website that says Renova Group owns Columbus Nova. Daybreak Games is owned by Columbus Nova. Yet Daybreak Games says we weren't owned by Columbus Nova, and Columbus Nova is not owned by Renova, which is just asinine to me. And then Daybreak has the audacity a Massively OP article says Daybreak has politely suggested we change our original title, which refers to other source claims that Renova owned Columbus Nova and were both subject to sanctions. I mean, it's just nuts to see what's going on here. So
here's one thing. I'm talking about PlanetSide 2. So they said, and I think that this Massively OP does have a few inside contacts. I think they probably are communicating with some internal employee or people that were internal employees.
Well, they may still be internal employees. Yeah,
there may still be. They said, here's what they've been told. We've been told that most or all of the Just Survive team was let go, and the game is unlikely to see updates. This apparently is per developer on Discord. So a developer said this. A credible source familiar with the situation also said that the Player Studio program, where it's a program that pays players to design gear that goes into Daybreak Games, they said it may be in jeopardy because the one and only employee overseeing that project was among those let go. So Player Studio, people were making things and getting, paid for that. There's not even anybody overseeing that anymore. So if you were one of those people, are you going to get paid going from here on out is the concern for them. It seems like an axe was put to this with no thinking of how are we going to keep things going, continue to keep going. I have a feeling that there's going to be as you said, either they're planning on selling things off or axing things. And my guess is Just Survive is going to be gone. PlanetSide 2 and games similar to EverQuest, maybe possibly those are going to be sold off. Also, I've heard supposedly that they're still going to be releasing EverQuest 3 and PlanetSide 3. is what they're still planning on doing. Are those new possible Unreal Engine 4 ones that they're doing? Yeah, maybe that's what they're hoping will save this company, is releasing EverQuest 3 and PlanetSide 3 on Unreal and finally dumping their old engine. I mean, maybe that's what this comes down to, because imagine how much it takes to upkeep that old engine.
Oh yeah.
They with security and just trying to, I mean, whether or not it's going to continue working in future Windows Pro updates, like we've talked about, that may go away at some point. Maybe they've viewed that finally it's time to let Forge Light go, and this is the first step towards it.
I mean, it wouldn't be a total shock to me if that's the case. You know, it's frustrating to say the least. Now, I will say that what I said at the beginning of this segment was, you know, you got to understand that people's lives were affected here, and that is still the case. But I do want to make the point that, you know, we're most likely going to see a Just Survive shutdown here, according to all the sources. And it's a shame because all of this, in my opinion, now if there was like serious money laundering going on and Daybreak was just being used as a skeleton, which would eventually have been thrown off to the side anyway, then this point is moot. But I really do think that if that's not the case, all of this could have been averted if they had just listened to people and they just, you know, had a solid game plan and just, you know, didn't change what they were going to do based on the direction of the wind.
I mean, Just Survive was just throwing money out the window.
But not
if you look at the progress they made,
not even throwing money out the window, Brian. We're talking about going from, we're going to do this, this, and this for 6 months, and then say, oh, we're going all the way back to square one. Now I'll get you, and I'll be the first to admit this. In business, sometimes you do have to do that because you realize that, oh my God, what we're doing is awful. But in this case, there was no indication of that. It was just, oh well, now we're just going to revert all the way back to what the game, what originally we thought we were going to do. So that's, I think, what's so frustrating to me, and what I think is so frustrating to people on Twitter and Facebook is that there's just, this all could have been averted if they would have just, there wasn't just this scatteredness with, you know, oh, I'm the CEO of you know, King of the Kill, and I'm the CEO of Just Survive, and it's 2 separate studios, but it's really only one. Everybody's working on everything together. But no, it's 2 separate teams, and the Just Survive team and the King of the Kill team don't even talk. King of the Kill's now named H1Z1. The games are split. Now they're together. I mean, it's just this craziness that's been going on for the past 2 years or so. And on top of this, seeing the mass exodus of staff in the past 3 or 4 months. In the last couple months, even last 6 months. I mean,
even a couple weeks before this happened, we had a ton of people leave. And I remember saying, is this like, is there some sort of an internal memo? I brought this up on the show. Was there some sort of internal memo saying there's going to be layoffs if you want to be a person who shows on your resume you left by your own free will, or you have an opportunity to go find another job right now, do it? You know, I would recommend you go find a job while you still have a job here. Yeah. So you can leave. I just feel like that had to have happened. If it didn't, you know, they had to have seen the fire inside. Like everything was burning. Yeah. Well, everything was burning, or there was the talks of what was actually going on. If there was actual activity going on here, people higher up knew. Chris Wynn went over to Riot Games. Greg Henniger left. Smedley obviously pulled the handful of staff members from Daybreak over to Amazon Game Studios. Even tweeted out right after this, after these layoffs, if anybody needs a job, email me, and we'll hopefully we can talk and work something out. So that's I think, well, you know, what you're talking about of this mass conspiracy theory, you know, this tinfoil hat, you know, flat Earth, moon landing didn't happen conspiracy theory. When you start, you know, laying all the pieces of the puzzle out on the table, you really do have to wonder what the hell's going. Well, I mean, it doesn't seem crazy. It really doesn't. And I know that anybody that's I've watched plenty of conspiracy theory videos on YouTube about everything from the moon landing to 9/11 to the Earth being flat. I watch all that stuff. I find it very interesting. I don't believe really any of it.
But you do see how these
Except for
people,
the flat Earth part.
yeah, except for the flat Earth part, yeah. But you see how, yeah, specifically with what I'm dealing with now at work, which is trying to beam a signal from a low tower to a high tower. The curvature of the Earth isn't coming into effect at all at that over a 12-mile shoot. But you know, you watch these conspiracy theorists. For example, 9/11 was an inside job. They'll lay out all these pieces, and you go, well, "Damn, that's compelling." And I kind of feel like that's what we're doing, Brian, to some extent. And I want to say, well, we're not the crazy ones. Like, you know, we're not. But I mean, seriously, Brian, what we've laid out here is staff fleeing the company within the last 6 to 8 weeks. We've got that. You've got sanctions placed on Russian oligarchs by the U.S. federal government, by I believe it was the Federal Trade Commission. A couple of those people had very direct the correlation with Columbus Nova. Daybreak Games saying they are not affiliated with Columbus Nova in any way, shape, or form, and that Jason Epstein is their whole owner and has always been their whole owner. I mean, you lay out all these pieces of the puzzle, and you have to look at this and go, what the I mean, what's going on here? I mean, it doesn't seem that crazy.
And their only answer, it was a miscommunication. That's their answer to it all. Miscommunication. Years of information being sent to us was a miscommunication.
Well, and you know what pisses me off the most now is you and I look like complete and utter jackasses, Brian. And not by our own doing, but because we have sat here and time after time made a comment that Daybreak was making decisions based on an investment company running them, and that they didn't really give two shits about the customer. And now you and I look like we don't know what the hell we're talking about, but we're basing it off their own damn information that they had published everywhere. It wasn't one source. It was their privacy policy. It was the footer on their website. That was in press releases. It was on their damn website that they were acquired by Columbus Nova. No. And it makes you and I look like we don't even know what the hell we're talking about. And everybody else that made this argument.
If we went into court and we have all this documentation, all you'd have to do is put this in front of a judge and say, here is in this legal document that they filed this, and this, and this. All says they're owned by Columbus Nova. We would win that case very easily.
It doesn't appear it would be a hard thing to win. I mean, they literally said it in a million different places.
And that's the thing is them just saying, oh, it was a miscommunication. See how far that takes you in court. It's like saying, I didn't know the law. That doesn't make a difference when you break the law, whether you knew it was a law or not. Now, McGrogan, he brings up a point about H1Z1 being named H1Z1. And people are confused. Why was King of the Kill renamed H1Z1? And I'm just going to reiterate, that's because they were so selling to China, so shilling to China, you could say, that China didn't like the name Kill in the name of a game.
Of course.
So they turned around and said, you're not allowed to use skeletons, you're not allowed to have blood, and you're not allowed to have the name Kill in your name. So what they did is they changed it to H1Z1. Back with H1Z1, which King of the Kill has no zombies in it, has nothing to do with the H1Z1 virus, has nothing to, there's none of it anywhere in any of the story, yet they named it back to, and this is where Nick says, I refuse to call it. I'm going to keep calling it Just Survive H1Z1, but that makes sense. Just Survive is about the virus. King of the Kill had nothing to do with the virus. It was just a battle royale game, which had no viruses in there whatsoever. So it doesn't make any sense. It's still, their decisions are just purely based on money. First of all, I mean, the naming of it H1Z1 because they wanted so badly to sell to China, which ended up biting them, killing their game. Was, I think that was the beginning of the downfall when everybody in China left, and then China said, we're not going to allow you to do all these things. It was the beginning of the end. It was their poor decisions over and over and over again.
Yes.
That brought them here today. And that's where I think the money laundering conspiracy comes into play of how could you let a company, or how could a company be able and allowed to make so many poor decisions for such a long period, never have anything brought to account or questioned? Because I kept saying the emperor has no clothes. I brought up that analogy so many times. The emperor has no clothes. At some point, that investment company or the investment owner would have to look at the bottom line and say, all right, all these poor decisions are costing me a lot of money. Now we've made our burst of money in the beginning, and now every decision you make here that's a poor decision is costing me money. And I feel like that was never said until this Russia thing came up, because everything was going like normal. So it just doesn't make any sense.
It's a sad day. A lot of people were affected. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people had to change. I mean, that's a life-changing thing, a life-altering thing that happened to a lot of people. It's incredibly sad. Believe me, I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here jumping for joy.
Again, joy out of being right.
No, absolutely not. And we're not even right. But
Yeah.
This is not an exciting time for me. But because we have literally talked about this game every week for 171 weeks straight, I mean, we're fully invested. We are fully invested into the game. We followed it since day one. We followed it since Brian Skype messaged me in 2014 or whatever year we started, 2015, and said, "Hey, have you seen this game?" And I said, "I'm playing it right now." That's how invested we are in H1Z1 and the staff and the title. And to see it just stripped away for all intents and purposes is sad, because and on top of that, you're adding in all these people were laid off. So it's a you know what, Brian, frankly, it's a shitty situation. Plain and simple. There's no better way to describe it. It's a terrible situation. A whole bunch of people are affected that shouldn't have been affected. And we'll see what comes of this. There may be some type of larger investigation into it. There may not be. We'll have to see. But real quick, before we move on to some stuff, I do want to read this article or this Reddit post here from MMO. What's his name? MMO Derelick on the Just Survive Reddit, saying, "Hey folks, I just got back from a lengthy vacation. While I was gone, Daybreak had a layoff that affected many teams. Just Survive was hit pretty hard. I'm in a meeting this week to find out our plans for the future. As I know things, I will post them here so that everyone knows what is going on." And I think that kind of feeds directly into what Massively OP sources said, which is that the Just Survive team was crippled. And the other part of this, and I'll mention this real quick before we move on here. They have been doing updates to this game. That's another part of the conspiracy theory puzzle. They literally did a live Just Survive update less than 2 weeks ago. I mean, you don't just decide.
There's still people working on it.
You don't just decide. I don't know this to be a fact. I work in a pretty small company, and I believe that if we were to shut down, it wouldn't be like, oh, well, tomorrow we are closed. It would be a process of, okay, guys, over the next month, if things don't change dramatically, we are going to close. So there's a process. There's a weaning into it process of the shutdown or the thought of the shutdown from all of. I mean, literally last Tuesday we announced that H1Z1 is coming to the PS4, and on Thursday they fire half their staff.
Yep.
I mean, that's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. So there's just all of these pieces start to fill together. I feel like I'm Alex Jones sitting up here, with my tinfoil hat on, screaming about conspiracy theorists. But I mean, damn, Brian, it's pretty compelling. With all of these things lining up, you have to wonder what was the peg that was holding all this stuff together. It just makes you wonder.
Yeah, this did not happen overnight. The firings happened overnight, but what led to those firings did not happen overnight.
And if it did, what the hell?
This has been a process been happening for so long of just this downward poor decisions. And that's what I was saying is I don't understand how many poor decisions in a row can continually be made and never corrected, right? I mean, all these things were just done and management was not doing a good job. People were, the company was bleeding money, was not producing. If look at the update list for Just Survive. We took and really broke down and we pulled out the last couple of years of updates for Just Survive. And you see how much treading of water that they've done with that game of going nowhere and nothing being done. I said it so long ago they could have started that game over on Unreal and had it released a long time ago if they would have started from scratch. And at the time when you're looking at it, you say, well, that doesn't make sense. At that time, you're like, that doesn't make sense. That would take someone, they'd lose so much progress. Look how they got nowhere. Like
Yeah.
they could have in 6 months put out a better game on Unreal than they've been wasting their time with for years now.
Now, I do want to say, in the Falcons Watch is made a comment chat. I don't feel too bad about the layoffs. They are a terrible team. They went years without a competitive product. That is an accurate statement. Now, personally, I do care about the layoffs, but I will say, this is most likely, higher management, upper management, the top making the decisions. This is a large company, 200 to 500 employees. One single employee that is really motivated is not going to make a change in a company structure like that, because most companies are not structured properly. That's the problem.
If you have a bad, and I've brought it up here before, but if you have a really bad work environment like that, to where you just feel like you can't change anything, you go through it and it's like, well, I can't, if I say something to my boss, nothing's going to happen. If I go and complain about this or say we should do something different, maybe I think this would improve a product. That's one thing. If you look at what Google did right and what made Google really thrive as a company, was that employees could stand up and say, I think that we should do this. They'd give them that time, 10% time, that they could do whatever they want and try to come up with something new and innovate. That's innovation. I feel like this was a company that was just do what you're told, do your thing, make that, do this, and don't see anything else.
Yes. And I'm very fortunate to work in a company culture that you're kind of describing, Brian. I'm very fortunate that my boss worked for a very prominent company that had a very challenged culture, where, as you're saying, the intern can challenge the boss of their boss of their boss of their boss,
yep,
and make a point and be heard and listened to. And in some cases, if it's a really valid point, taken up on that task. Most companies aren't like that, and I would guess, based off of the conversations that we've seen from the flippy floppy of how they've just, we're going to put this in the game. Oh, now we're not. We're going to put this in the game. No, we're not. That the flip flop of that stuff. This was not this company. This was a direct order coming down from management. Well, we're going to do this for the next 6 months. We're going to drive the train in this direction for the next 6 months. If you're not on board, jump off the train and kill yourself. That's your solution. We're going this direction. Quit if you don't like it. Yep. And then at the end of 6 months, oh wait, nope. Move the what, I don't know what they call the head train. Move it to the other side. We're going back the other direction for another 8. You don't like it? Yep. Get the hell off. And I would imagine that's what it's like, because nothing happened. And I mean, Falcon is right in. I disagree with him in. I don't feel too bad about the layoffs, but he's accurate in saying they went years without making a competitive product. That's an accurate statement.
Yes.
Unequivocally, without a doubt, that is an accurate statement. But I don't think that's the fault of, and McGrogan made a good point, can't blame McDonald's cashier when they take the bacon away. It's a very dumbed down example, but it's a perfect example. And thank you for that, McGrogan. You yell at the cashier, it's not their fault. They're
the ones who get yelled at.
Exactly.
But they're not making the decisions.
They're not making the decisions. And I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else. I got upset when I was getting fast food the other day. It wasn't the cashier's fault. I was just being a jerk. There was no reason for it. But I'm not getting the decision maker. I'm yelling at some minimum wage employee that hates their job. And I didn't yell at them. That's an understatement.
It comes down to management, though. Like let's use for an example. Let's compare two companies. Take a look at a company, Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
I don't know. You have Chick-fil-A's there, and you see how when you go to the pull up, the window at Chick-fil-A, how do they talk to you?
It's my pleasure to serve you.
It's my pleasure to serve you. It's a very positive.
Yes.
They treat you very nicely, and they are held to that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the management expects that they treat you with respect.
Yes.
Well, then you can turn around and you can go to
Burger
Taco
King,
Bell.
McDonald's, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is a perfect example here, to where I pull up to the window there, and I feel like I'm being a burden to them.
Yeah, and then you actually are, because that's how badly they hate their jobs. Yes, you are literally being burdened.
And that's the thing, is they turn around, and I've had it to where I've gone inside. They got an order wrong, and the guy said, "Well, you missed some of the stuff from my order," and they were just like, "Oh, this guy says this," and they're right. They walk 5 steps to the place where they're preparing food, and I can hear them complaining about that guy who's standing right next to me the whole time, saying it's about how they had to remake this thing. And it's like, obviously there's a management problem there.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, and that's
and so you could say, you can to a point say, okay, that person, they don't have it's the management, even to that point, of making sure the employees are doing the right thing. And that still, those employees being bad employees, still comes down to management.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a management problem that they let them do that. Chick-fil-A manages it properly, and they treat you properly, and the employees get in line, and they treat you in the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
There's other places they let it go, and you're the one that, as the customer, who gets punished by it. And then I feel like that's what we've had with Daybreak this whole time. We're getting punished for their poor management.
Yeah, and who else is being punished is in this case the employees, because it's not that the employees were incompetent, because I don't believe that's the case at all. It's that the employees had bad direction, bad management skills. The employees didn't. They had the bad managers that had poor management skills that didn't know how to properly direct them. And again, this is all speculation, no inside baseball, no inside sources here, but this is what it looks like on the outside. We could be totally wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, but it seems like this has to have been what's going on, because you've got a whole bunch of people that appear to be motivated, appear to love the product. I mean, these people are tweeting about how upset they are after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of working at Daybreak that they're being laid off. These don't look like people that were like, oh, hell with Daybreak, I didn't even care if I worked for them or anyway. They seem like motivated people. It's
about time.
Yeah, exactly. There was none of that. So you would only estimate that these people were willing to do whatever it took, but the team above them, the managers, the ones that were making the decision, didn't know what the hell they wanted. And this all comes back, Brian, to John Smedley being fired and forced out of the company for no reason whatsoever. Because
the one person who was willing to stand up and say, I think this should be done in this way because I feel like it's right. I think he was the only person I didn't see anyone stand up in that whole company from that point on to stand up and say, I think that this is what we need to aim for, and I think this is what we need to deliver. After that, it was purely just stuff. They were just doing stuff. I think that they lost their vision at that point, and once they lost their vision, it turned into the treading water that brought us to here.
We'll continue to talk about this stuff as information comes out, as things unravel. We'll continue to talk about it. Hopefully we'll have some news on Just Survive in the next couple of weeks. If anybody knows, if anybody still knows anybody at Daybreak and they want to get in touch with us, please. I mean, we'd be willing to talk to them. I'm just not going to waste my time to reach out to them. They don't want to talk. But if maybe there's a former developer, I mean, I would imagine that most of them had to sign NDAs because nobody talked about, nobody was bad mouthing them, which is a common sign of you were given a severance with an NDA. But if somebody wants to talk, we'd be more than willing to give them the platform. So, sad day at Daybreak.
If they want to set the record straight, because if we're wrong about something, and if it's not, I don't know why the truth would be a big secret, right?
No, that's what's so odd about it. Yeah, it shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to come out here and say, here's what happened. That's it. Here is exactly what happened, and I don't feel like that's being said at all. It's everybody keep your mouth shut is what I'm getting, since not a single person is saying a single thing about the real cause. What, did they not have enough money? Did they just say, okay, we looked at the long-term, profits from this, and we realized that we're not going to be making any more money, and it was just going to burn the whole company in the end, and we didn't want to lose these titles that we already have. I mean, that would be a legitimate answer for me, and I haven't heard that answer whatsoever.
No, and neither have I. So we'll move on from that, and as information is available, we'll continue to bring it to you. Now we're at our halfway point here, Brian.
Let's do the giveaway really quick.
So while you get that set up, this just came out, and I will. I don't think you've even seen this yet, Brian, but we've got our new Humble Bundle. Now this
Oh
one
yeah,
is interesting.
I have seen this.
CryEngine Humble Bundle
I already purchased this
for
actually.
monthly, and the big game in this one, ladies and gentlemen, game we've talked about many a times, is Miscreated as part of this bundle, and you can get Miscreated for $8.11 as part of this this Humble Bundle. It's up now for another 13 days. They're calling it Humble CryEngine Bundle 2018. And what I'll do, if Steam is up, which it does appear it is, I'm going to head on over to the store there. Miscreated is $25 on the Steam store as of right now. So if you are interested...
I purchased it for Sniper 3 and Sniper 2. Those are fun games. I've been waiting for these snipers to come on sale. So I got it for the Sniper games. But it also, it comes with Miscreated. It's got DLC for Snow, which is a free-to-play game, but it comes with the Pro Packs, which is kind of gives you more of the things inside of it. And then it has a lot of CryEngine asset files. So if you are into development, maybe you are working on something with CryEngine, this comes with underwater demo level. So it'll have all the stuff to be able to make an underwater game. Robinson, the Journey asset pack, which was like an island type of a game. Rise Egypt asset pack. So that's Roman style things in Egypt. It has assets for the Climb. So, and then for Deceit as well. So there's a lot of assets in there, which I just wish they would come out with an Unreal one, because that's the one I'd really like. But I actually requested that years ago when they first started doing this. I sent them a request to do an Unreal one. So I'm still waiting.
So if you are a gamer that has heard about Miscreated, this is your time to get it. This is probably the cheapest price you'll see for a good while. This even beats the summer and winter sale prices. Normally it's 50% off. You can get it for 10 or 15 bucks. $8.11 is not a price that you're going to see very often. So you can head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, and click on the Humble Bundle link on the homepage. That'll shoot you over to the Humble Bundle site where our affiliate code will be attached. When you buy the game, a portion of that will go to us. We appreciate it. It helps support the program, supports the show, and it's going to be making our trip out to PAX West possible. And it has made it possible up to this point. So we appreciate everybody's support with that. And, of course, our friends PHVCK and MDC357 who subscribed on Twitch during this episode. We want to thank both of them for supporting the program as well. Alrighty, Brian,
Yes.
what do you got here? And we'll roll this at the end of the show, as we're doing just pretty much one giveaway now.
So this is a game that I know you like.
Ooh.
I love. We play it quite often. I'm giving away a copy of Tabletop Simulator.
Oh, hell
Tabletop
yeah.
Simulator. If you do not have Tabletop Simulator, you now have no excuse.
Oh.
This is a game that you cannot say, "Oh, I'm not into those types of games." This game has every board game that you can imagine.
Illegal.
Thousands and thousands of board games that you can have access to. We play it on this is probably one of the games that we play the most.
I would agree, yeah.
Because we play it on a regular basis. We play different games every time. We have a lot of fun. And so if you've looked at it and said, I'm not going to play with them, either because, I don't think it would be fun. I promise you it is fun. Or if you're saying, I don't have the game, so I can't jump in there and play with them. Make sure you enter this, because this is one of our most fun games that we have. It's got tons of stuff, and we play all kinds of games together on it, from Uno to very in-depth board games on this. So, but yeah, I think I think that if you don't have a Tabletop Simulator, enter this raffle, and we'll roll it right before the end of the show. So here in about 40 minutes.
Yes. So thank you to everybody who's supporting the program, making that stuff possible, and thanks to you, Brian, for that giveaway. I just looked for the hell of it. I've got 75 hours on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, I've got 40 right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of time, and most of that is with the Infection crew, playing with Saul, who we've been playing with, who's kind of our GM extraordinaire, and a couple of other people. So if you are interested and you don't have if you don't have Tabletop Simulator, join the giveaway here, and hopefully we'll give that away to somebody at the end of the show. It's a very, very cool game. And that Humble Bundle, which I'll be purchasing after the show. So we'll have couple copies of Miscreated to give away. It looks like in the coming weeks. So we'll.
And there's also a PlayStation bundle. So I actually got this as well because I like to get games on my PlayStation.
Oh yes, the Capcom Sega bundle. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has Alien Isolation. It's
Crazy
got
Taxi.
Dead Rising 1 and 2. Crazy Taxi.
But that's for the PS3 though.
Not all of them are for PS4. It's got Mega Man Collection, I think, is on there. Resident Evil HD. So it's got a decent number of games on there. So I got that just because I like to have an option if I'm sitting out there to play it on my PlayStation 4. So yeah, so that's they've had some decent bundles. I try to always resist buying them, but I have a problem, and you know that.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Okay, so do you have a preference of where we go?
Let's do Fortnite quickly. I think we can kind of bang this out pretty quickly here. So we've got a new season of Fortnite. As we've talked about in the past, we've now got season number 4, and as always with these, Epic does a hell of a job with promotions on these. They produce these crazy videos for this, and the season 4 is the same as all the others. So here is the season 4 announcement trailer for Fortnite.
From the darkest depths of deep space, mystery is on a collision course with danger. The world will never be the same. Brace for impact.
All right, so that is season 4 of Fortnite by Epic Games. That is out now. It started today, as of course I put in almost 3 hours of playtime, 3.5 hours of playtime last night, which I think is hilarious.
Yep.
So you can go jump in there. The meteor is the big point of that. If you've been following some of the Fortnite, there's plenty of Fortnite news channels on YouTube. And I mean, I know we don't cover it as closely as all those people, but if you've been following that, you've seen the meteors and how that's been kind of a big thing that's been going on in the game recently. Now they've done.
Now, one thing I was going to mention with the meteor.
Yeah.
So it is changing the map
Mhm.
in a number of locations. So the impact affects the map. So they have some all new points of interest, which is very smart of them to do, like keeping it fresh like this. They said, so maybe your favorite landing spot will have changed. Another thing they say is hop rocks. So the comet has left a scar on the island, and you visit the craters, you find these glowing rocks all around, consume them, and you lift off with low gravity. So it actually changes. I mean, this is pretty unique that it changes the whole mechanic of how you play the game now. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and we've been saying this for a while about Fortnite. I mean, Epic is doing what nobody's done before. We thought PUBG was at a level of development that
they started in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, even though they started, I mean, we thought Ark had a work ethic like nobody else, and they do. In fact, PUBG took them to the next level. We thought this can't possibly be matched. Fortnite in Epic they're doing so much with this game so rapidly. I mean, I played that 50v50 mode last night. That thing is so much fun. I mean, they are just doing what nobody else is doing. And the best part about those game modes, that sometimes they are in the game for less than 72 hours. They are in and out. They are throwing things in, seeing what works, and just getting rid of it. And then, back to the drawing board to see if we like how this plays or how this doesn't play. It's crazy. We've never seen anything like this. And
well, and they could even say we found that because they do a lot of testing and statistics gathering. I bet you they said, well, here's our lowest performing areas of the map. So we're going to come up with a instance like this that pretty much redoes the map. And it's not like we're going and saying, oh, we're fixing stuff. Like it gives them a good excuse. All right, we wiped out those areas. And then after this event is over, they can then rebuild those in whatever way they want. They have all this time that this event runs to rebuild that area of the map however they want it to be at this point on. So it's a very smart way to do it, that they're not conceding that anything was wrong in the first place.
Oh, absolutely not.
So I think marketing wise, it's a very smart thing.
Oh, it's incredibly smart. So there's an event in here called Part 1 Origin Story. Excuse me. And it says join Spitfire and Locke as they investigate the the comet and gear up to recruit a team of superheroes. And you've got this this zombie looking guy here that they're showing off for
and
that.
that's in Save the World. So
yes.
That's the other version, which it seems like they're putting a renewed focus on.
Yes, because
people were mad
to this
because people purchased that originally
for
and they're
$60.
We're not. Yeah, and they weren't getting it. People were mad because they felt like they dropped it so much. And I think that now they're putting a renewed focus on it because they realize they've got the market share on the Battle Royale, but they also I think they realize now they can also, because there's so many fans of Fortnite in general, create this other version as well. And I think they'll both be popular in the end.
Oh, absolutely. So we've got that in Save the World. They've got loot boxes with some new items out, and then they've got some patch notes here. I don't think we're gonna go.
PH posted a nice little image for you.
Okay. We'll see what's in there. But looking at this, they've done some gameplay changes. I'm not going to go through all of the updates with this. I mean, I read through these. It's nothing crazy.
It's a lot of fixes and balance things. Now, with season 4, one thing I was going to make a comment on is if you take a look, I brought up last week, and some people had sent some stuff regarding this, but I brought up last week that I didn't feel the right person won the dance off contest.
Do you have a clip of you saying this? Because I don't remember that.
This was last week. Someone else caught it in chat because they mentioned it in Discord.
Yeah.
But I had said I didn't feel like I felt like the orange shirt kid should have won, and that more of a professional dancer won this. Well, the internet as a whole felt very similar to how I did.
Hey, that's a fact.
And so go ahead and play this first video, which shows the original video. So this is the orange shirt kid.
This is the original orange shirt kid doing his.
And you should play it from the start with audio.
I don't want to play it. It'll get tagged with the music that's on.
Oh, okay. No, there's no music. This one has no music.
I've got. I don't have a good way to get
the
the
one I
audio
linked
on
to you
this.
doesn't have any music.
Okay.
Because remember, they weren't supposed to put any music to it. They had to dance.
Thanks, Fortnite. If this actually stays in the game, I'll probably crap my pants.
That's what you wanted to catch?
You all ready?
No.
This is called the random.
What was it? What were we supposed to catch it? What was the audio that we were supposed to catch here?
And he also says something at the end. So
well,
you could do this. All right. So this is his dance.
Great exercise move.
Yes, it's also a great exercise move.
So if you look at the, go and click the next video.
Yeah. So this one I like has music.
Okay, yeah. So this one, if you look, they put Orange Justice. It's also a great exercise.
Yes,
move.
they turned it into. They made the memes the dreams. Yes, that's what they.
Yes, so now they put that into. So that is tier 26 reward for this season, and he is in there. And yeah, so if you felt the same way, he didn't win. I guess didn't win money or something.
I'll tell you, I'm very disappointed in you, Brian, because I expect when you make a claim like last week, I said this. And it's a pivotal thing like this. I need a damn timestamp to the YouTube video so that you can. I mean, we got to start using your book more. The problem is we'd spend the entire show like, oh, I said this, and then I said this, and it's unsearchable. So you have to thumb through it.
We'd have to screw it. We'd have to have people watching all the video over and over again and be like, "Oh, can you clip that when I said this?"
We need a.
Yeah, there you go. Falcons watches my. He says, "I actually remember him talking." About
somebody could find a timestamp. That would be great. I'd love that. And you did say that because I vaguely remember it. I want to give you a hard time.
Yeah. So anyway, so that is now in there. So there's a little bit of justice for that kid, which I had been. My comments at the time were that I felt like these kids that are actually playing in the game, these kids that like for them this is a big deal. They're the ones who should have been more highly considered for doing this not these professional dance troops
Oh, you mean
where
yeah?
someone
You mean
said,
the kid of 12? You mean the 12 people dancing inside of a dance studio?
yeah.
I mean, really?
I think that have your fans win and don't have it be something to where, because we saw so many just professional dancers who probably have never played the games in their life. And
Yeah.
somebody just referenced said, hey, you might be able to win something or get some notoriety if you submit a video to this dance thing. Just do some, and it doesn't even have to be anything pertaining to Fortnite. It's just some random dance. So it's probably some dance they've already known from somewhere else. And they're just performing it on a video and sending it in.
Instead of the random, which is what our orange shirt kid did.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, it's whatever. It's his dance. And it's also, what do you say? It's great for
Exercise.
Exercise too. So
I mean, I can't argue with science.
Yeah. And so that's another thing where very smart of them. Let's say that this was Daybreak. What would they have done? They would have ignored it altogether.
They would have made a video about crying for cheaters.
Yeah. They would have ignored the whole thing. They would have never embraced it, or they would have made some reference
in 6
to
months.
it in 6 months when all this happened in a week.
Yeah, literally.
You know what I'm saying? Like they came up with it. They made the animation. They got it in the game. They put it as a tier reward within a week of really the outcry of, hey, this kid should have won.
Yes.
So very good. Very good for them.
And again,
it shows Epic is incredibly smart when it comes to this. And
it shows what we've been talking about, a development team that is like something we've never seen. I mean, you're talking about a literal internet meme turning into Epic headquarters in Cary, North Carolina. They're going, well, I guess we'll just throw this in for the hell of it. Somebody go stand in the green room and move your hands like that kid, and we'll motion track it and throw it in the game. I mean, that's literally what happened. And that's how that works. And that's nuts.
Yep. Because they have the ability to say, hey, I think this would be a good idea. It'd be cool if we did this.
Yeah.
And someone whatever employee that's sitting there and doing that green screening has the ability to say, hey, I got something funny or something cool. We should put this in there.
Yep.
And someone else listens. Where I think that's what we run into Daybreak is just, you can say it, but if it's not in their list of things that they're going to be doing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I like that they're willing to go with the flow. And it really shows when they're quickly making these adjustments and, putting something in within such a short period of time. Obviously it wasn't on their 6-month plan because this just happened in 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part about it, Brian, is it's not going to knock their 6-month plan off either. It's not going to.
They're not like, we had to change everything.
Yeah.
We're now 3 weeks behind because we had to put an orange shirt kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, who? Oh, yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we've moved well past that. So
yep,
that's cool. I'm glad to see Epic doing stuff like that. That's.
PH says, didn't Daybreak do a dancing bear at some point? They did the chicken. I remember that there was they had the chicken outfit.
Oh yes, yeah, they did.
And then I think they did have some, like their bear was doing something weird, but
I don't.
That's them wasting time. That because it's nowhere in the game. It never shows up in the game. That's just them in the back room messing around. Obviously getting paid to sit there and create a dancing bear that's never going to be seen again. It's to make the fellow employees laugh. And if I were an employer making the paycheck, I'd be pissed. Like you're making a dancing bear half the day. I mean, it probably took you half the day to make that bear animation. Make the bear stand up and like do real things. Make it do something cool. But anyways,
good to know if Brian is my manager.
I expect you to not make dancing bear animations unless it's going to be in the game. If you can come up with a creative way to put it in there.
I don't think I'd be working for you. You and I wouldn't get along. I don't think.
Probably not. It'd be like, get out of this. You can't be wearing shorts to work.
I mean, why is this such a big deal? Why is everybody ripping on me? Who cares? I mean, I live at the beach, for Christ's sakes. I mean, seriously. One thing I've learned.
You carry a surfboard into
No, I don't carry a surfboard. One thing I've learned, when you live so close to the thing people say down here is, we live where you vacation. That is the thing down here, and it's the truth. I'm 45 minutes from Myrtle Beach, or an hour from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I live where people come to vacation. Everything is very different. Nobody works on Fridays. Nobody works on Mondays because they're drinking on Friday and they're hungover on Monday. It's just different mentality. So wearing shorts to work is more than acceptable.
Yeah. See here,
my boss was wearing shorts at work. I mean, it's not a problem. What's the big deal?
All right.
I got a
I was talking
compliment.
about how
I got a compliment.
management
I got
leads down.
I got a
so.
compliment on my Yankees shirt today at work. So that's not a problem. Not a problem.
You should wear your red hat again. Every day.
I do. I wear my plenty of my hats to work. It's not a problem. I'll wear it tomorrow. I don't.
All right.
That's
Let's move
after
on
show
because
topic.
we're running out of time.
Yes, we are.
We're running out of time.
After show topic.
All right, so let's jump to PUBG here really quick. So this came in the news. They arrested 15 suspects and fined them $5.1 million for selling PUBG cheats and hacks. And a lot of this is out of China. So 15 major suspects, including OMG, FL, and then these Chinese symbols for names. I have no clue. How do you pronounce those things? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
Kind of an A with a dash next to an weird looking M. I mean, that's the name of the company to me. So, but they were arrested for developing hack programs, hosting marketplaces for hack programs, and brokering transactions. Currently, the suspects have been fined approximately 30 mil RMB, which is $5.1 million in U.S. currency. And other suspects related to the case are still being investigated. So, obviously, China's taking this somewhat seriously. I feel like China does take it pretty seriously because I think they realize there's a lot of money in video games now. I think you could have said 5 years ago they didn't take it seriously, but I think they're realizing that that's a big driver of their economy. That
it's a huge driver.
A lot of their citizens play games. It's a part of their world.
I watched for people that are familiar, real quick off topic, Linus Tech Tips just recently made a YouTube video. I'd highly recommend you check this out, Brian. He's in China, and they go to a mall thing that's all PC components and all computer parts, and it's I mean, I had a nerdgasm watching something like this. This was the craziest thing I've ever seen. 3 stories of computer components, motherboards, GPUs, standoffs for computer cases, power buttons for the front, USB things for the front. I mean, just stuff that you don't normally see. So it's a huge technology. It's the tech hub of the world is China. So,
I mean, imagine if we in America had things, because we have people who make stuff, right? They come up with designs. If you were there, you could be like, I want to make this, and you just go get all the parts. I mean, we can Amazon it and everything, but you could just say, I just want to go walk through and I'll design something just by looking.
The guy that Linus did the video with is a somewhat new YouTuber. He made a video where he built an iPhone with iPhone parts by buying
each individual part,
and not just buying the screen, buying the digitizer and the backlight and the gloss and the home button and the logic board and the camera and the memory and putting it all together. I mean, he literally built a phone from individual parts. I mean, so yes, of course it's a huge industry in China. It literally drives, it drives probably half their economy with Qualcomm and making, I know we're talking about phones at this point, but it's technology. It's all the same. It's crazy.
And I think that's the thing is that you talk about the mobile market. They have such easy access to, this is one reason why all these games are going mobile. Everybody plays games on mobile because it's such easy access. They may not have a computer. You see a lot of these places where people go, these coffee shops and places that people go to play these games for a computer. So not everybody has a computer, but you know what they do have? Phones. They have a phone.
Yep. Bingo.
And so, look at Tencent. Tencent comes down to phone games.
Yep.
And it's one of the, it own a huge part of Epic. It owns, just owns a ton of companies that we see. And we're like, that's a big company. No, well, they're owned by a bigger company over in China.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
And we've never really heard of them, let's say 6 months to a year ago. Who is Tencent?
Yeah.
Right. But they're huge. And so you look at that and I think China realizes they have to deal with this. And there's actually an article that I didn't put in here talking about the Tencent anti-cheat that they have. And these cheaters were talking about the anti-cheat with Tencent and saying, I don't know why they don't do this in America. But with Tencent in their anti-cheat, the second that they start to even try to inject something into the code, they get banned. because they're doing it, and you're like, I don't know why all these other games don't do this, or these, easy anti-cheat and all these other ones. He's like, this one's incredibly effective. The cheaters are talking about this, about how it's incredibly effective because the second they try to do an inject code, ban. And so they're, obviously they understand it, and I don't, it doesn't make any sense why we let hacking happen here, because I feel like sometimes we let hacking happen.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. Over there, I think they realize like they actually have to really control it. And this is one of those steps going through, and you're not going to be able to get all the individuals, because I mean, we see millions of people being banned on these different anti-cheat platforms. But I think they've realized you have to go, just like with drugs, arresting all of the drug users and putting them in prison. We found out in the United States doesn't solve the problem. There's plenty of people that are willing to be drug addicts all over the country. But what we have to do is go after the sources of those drugs if you really want to cut down on the amount of drugs there. This is done in the exact same way. You have these hubs that are creating all these cheats, and then they're being distributed out to all these people. Well, here they took out 15 large cheating platforms here, and that's going to affect and make the next people nervous when they go to do this, because they know that there's real consequences now. I mean, $5.1 million. And then if they also get some sort of a prison sentence, I can't imagine it's fun going to prison in China.
No.
I'd rather not do it. Here you could say, you get fed every day and you're fairly safe. I don't know that in China, and I don't feel like going and visiting their prison system there. But I'm assuming that this is not going to be pleasant for these 15 guys. So hopefully this cuts down on it a bit. Hopefully it makes it to where there's less companies making these cheats. And if they are, it's very underground. Right now, we've got free cheats that are being handed out for these games. I would think twice about handing out a free cheat if I knew that free cheat I'm putting out could get me a huge fine and prison time.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully this starts to cut back, because I know that, looking at PUBG, they've got to be frustrated because it's so hard for them to control it. What, how much can they really do as just making changes to the engine? I think it comes down to actually cutting them out at the source. So
I would tend to agree.
All right. So someone had asked about the map selection.
Yes.
In PUBG. So they did put out a post on the 26th here.
Yep.
And it showed a screenshot. It says, we're finally bringing map selection because it's something that's frustrated us. I mean, Miramar might be great, 1 every 6 maps.
Yeah.
But I'd rather not do it more than that. Today, we want to tell you about it, including the process we went through while developing the feature. So on here, they said the first problem was, would adding map selection cause serious increases in matchmaking times for the various servers and modes? Because that's the thing. I mean, you have games like Call of Duty, they do random a lot of times because you don't want people sitting there waiting 10 minutes to go into a more unpopular map. For us, this was the most troubling issue, and it required a lot of discussion and serious research. We analyzed tens of millions of matches and sorted the data by server, mode, and time to make sure map selection wouldn't break the game for anyone. We wanted to make sure that we could create a solution that worked for every region player, even the ones with a naturally low server population. The second problem, players in different regions have different preferences and play styles. So how could we make map selection work for all of them? So to solve this, they said they can't rely on one source of feedback like Reddit. Very
ding,
smart.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, we gathered feedback from all around the world, and what we learned led us to scrap and rework our designs for map selection several times. Ultimately, we created a version of map selection that we think is unlikely to cause issues with matchmaking. That said, we still have to keep a close eye on it, since it could become problematic as new maps continue to be added. So you select the map, you click start. If you don't want to play it says if you don't want to play a map, simply unselect it. So you can do a checkbox saying, I will do Ravage, or no, Ravage. What's the new one?
Myanmar?
Savage?
Oh, Savage.
No, what's the new one?
Savage, yes.
Savage. I'll do Savage, or I'll do Erangel. And then you can leave Miramar unchecked if you don't want to do that. And it will queue you into whichever one is available first. So you don't have to pick one map and choose it. you can choose all the preferences. So maybe in the future they have 6 maps. Then you could pick 5 of those maps and still have an incredibly quick queue time. You just won't be put into consideration for that one map. So that is that's the new map selection, and that is available. So make sure you jump in and check it out. They say PUBG will never stop evolving as long as you continue giving feedback. So they are encouraging feedback on this. And then they did a weapons balance on here. So this was something that, they were looking at a few specific weapons were the most used. For instance, the AR. And they believe that the choice about which gun to use should be based on personal preference and not so much this gun is the one that's most powerful, so I'm going to use it. So what they're trying to do is create a balance between all of these guns so that your gun will not necessarily be better in any situation, because the AR, you could say at distance it's good. I know they really want to make it so that you have your close range, your medium range, your long range, and there's not a one gun that fixes all situations. So and the same thing, they're going to be doing the same thing with attachments. They're going to be adding some new attachments, and they also don't want to have a best attachment. They want to have it be based on your preference. Maybe there's some benefits to both, but they want to have a balance between all these different attachments. So that it's not like here's the automatic setup that everyone uses, and you're going to have a disadvantage if you don't choose this selection. So, and that is, they put these numbers in their update number 12, and this has the weapon damage balance, the P92, the P1911, the P18C, the R1895, and the R45. Those are all pistols. They all had increase in damage. The AKM stayed the same. The M16, the M4, the SCAR, the AUG, those all had a decrease by 1 damage. And then the Groza stayed the same. The shotguns, the S686 and the S1897, those went down 1 damage. Sawed off in the S12, those stayed the same. The SKS had a significant decrease in damage. The VSS had 1 point increase. The MK stayed the same. The SLR, the Mini had 1 point increase, and then with the SMGs, most of those had an increase. The Micro Uzi had an increase. The the Vector, the Tommy gun stayed the same, and then the LMGs, both of those had an increase on damage. The DP and the M2. So hopefully that'll make it to where they're a little more, because they probably look and see, well, people aren't using these guns because they're just not as effective. Or they're using these guns too much. So I'm sure this is something they'll continue to balance over time as they see how everything the dust settles. But I'm sure they're going to go through and just continue trying to balance it so that they see that people are willing to pick up either weapon and not automatically drop one weapon because it's not as good.
Yeah. So
also, they're restricted big scopes, 8x and up, for use with all ARs. So you can no longer have an 8x or 12x or 15x or whatever on an AR, because they don't want you using it for long range. They don't want it to be the sniper alternative.
Yes, and that's what it was. I mean, if you had an 8x, if you had an 8x on your AR, I mean, it was,
you didn't need a sniper rifle.
Absolutely not. Sniper rifle was stupid.
Yep.
So
that's something that they've really been focusing on, and that's good. I think this will help create a little more balance in the game.
So that's the weapons balance. Now, they did a pretty big announcement from them, announcing the PUBG Global Invitational 2018, and this is taking place in Berlin, and it's going to be the top 20 professional PUBG teams from around the world that will face off for $2 million US in prizes, and they say the ultimate PUBG bragging rights. They're naming it the PGI 2018, is the first major PUBG esports tournament officially hosted by PUBG Corp. It's taking place in Berlin, Germany from July 25th through July 29th, 2018. There'll be a link in the show so you can go and you can see where they've got breakdowns. Most regions have 3 teams, and then a couple of smaller regions have one team, and that's how they're getting their 20 top professional teams. So
very nice,
pretty cool. Nice to see how well this thing goes, and
and this is one of those games that I enjoy playing it. I mean, I got kind of burned down on it playing so much for a period of time.
As did I, yeah.
But But I think this is one of those games that if you keep it in balance and you don't overdo it, it's a great game to play, on a weekend. I don't view it as a game that I want to play every day, but this is a game that still is a lot of fun. There's, they've done their best to control the hackers. There's balance to it. The map has enough variety. You don't feel like you're doing the exact same thing every single time. And it's fun to play with friends. So I hope that they continue to keep it going and it doesn't kind of die off like Just Survive did for us. I mean, that would be sad to me if this one went away, where, we were at the point where we weren't really that sad to see Just Survive not really being played anymore. I mean, we were sad that it happened.
Yeah.
But it'd gone down so far at that point that it just was no longer fun.
Yeah.
And so I hope that this one continues to stay fun.
Yeah, exactly. Now talking about PUBG, they also did a one of their major updates, which they've only done 12 version 1 updates since releasing the game, and this was done last week. They talk about map selection, bug fixes. Now the weapon damage balance, you've already kind of gone over some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So they've done some things with throwables and kind of tweaked how those things work a little bit. Some of the timings and how that stuff works for the character movement.
They did a lot to the reload times and the recoil.
Very specific stuff.
Yeah, because I think they're really one thing. They added new recoil animations for the AR. They decreased recoil recovery rates for all ARs. So now it's going to take, because they're really trying to punish the AR. I mean, not that the AR is a bad weapon, but it's just too overpowered for the situation. So they're making it so that it takes longer. To do shots with the AR. You can no longer do the long distance as well on it. Now, one thing they did do is aim down sights. The ADS, they increased the transition speed for that, which you would think, I don't know, that's kind of getting away from the super arcadey type of a feel, but I don't think they're really going for arcadey like H1Z1 did.
Yeah.
So I'm not super upset about that. And they all, they said for a lot of these weapons, they just went through, like for the shotguns, they reduced the pellet spread to make it a little more viable one-shot kill type of a gun. And the shotgun chokes can now be attached to the sawed-off. They increased the limb shots modifier, so not everything has to be a headshot. You can hit body shots and do more damage now. So increased headshot, body shot, and limb shot modifiers for the I think that's for the SKS. I don't know. They didn't put which one. So for some of the guns, they increased the body shot modifiers so that they actually have the ability to kill probably from closer up. If you just happen to get a shotgun into the shoulder, you'll take a big chunk of the health off to make it so you're more likely to carry that rather than just unloading a bunch of automatic rounds into them. So.
Yeah. We'd love to go into this, but we are super out of time. We are running super late. So that was a pretty big update. I do real quickly want to mention a couple of quick things before we wrap up here. Wild West Online, Brian, your game, the game that you have been talking about.
Yeah. It kind of is my game.
The future of video games here.
I still believe that it's going to happen.
Wild West Online is leaving its own early access program on May 10th. At that point, it will be available on Steam. So as that becomes available here in the next week or so, we'll talk about that as that comes out a little bit more. And as that releases. And I do really quickly want to show, before we get out of here, the Conan Exiles trailer, as this game now is leaving early access on May 8th, and they've done a really cool job with this trailer. And I don't know what that just happened. So they did a really good job with this trailer, and I do want to say that next week, for Game of the Week, not this week, next week, we'll be doing Conan Exiles, because it will be out of early access at that point. This comes out on May 8th. So for next week's Game of the Week, it will be Conan Exiles.
And do you have a preference for this week? I left it blank because I wanted to discuss it a little bit.
We could do some discussion here, but we'll watch this video real quick and then we'll be back.
From scorching desert to frozen peaks, humid swamp and dry heat, the land of Conan Exiles is a large and hostile world where only the strongest will survive. You are an exile, crucified and abandoned for crimes you may or may not have committed, until fate intervenes.
Shall I cut you down from that corpse tree?
Your beginnings are humble and unforgiving, as you fight not only hunger and dehydration, but vicious beasts, terrible monsters, other exiles, and the environment itself. As you become stronger and better equipped, your journey will take you into the swamp, where overgrown insects and venomous arachnids roam alongside dangerous animals. While earning better equipment, you'll also be able to construct bigger and stronger fortresses to defend yourself against monsters, inhabitants of the exiled lands, other players, and the avatars of their chosen religions. Other exiles have banded together in camps and villages, where their cultural backgrounds come with knowledge of different crafts and a variety of weapons and armor. If you capture one of these craftsmen and make them your thrall, their knowledge will become your knowledge. In the eastern parts, among the ruins of Zelha, dwell the perverted Lemurians, the proud days of their race, long forgotten. Through orgiastic rituals, they worship the goddess Derketo, the twin-natured lady who walks the line between lust and death. In the north, the votaries of Skelos walk the long, arduous path to the heart of the smoldering volcano to deliver their offerings to the whispering creatures of the well. The many dungeons in Conan Exiles each offer unique challenges and rewards for those brave enough to enter. But go deep enough, and you'll only find madness. Surviving in the exiled lands is made a little easier for those with green thumbs, as cultivating the land is a new way for you to grow key ingredients for alchemical mixtures, such as potions and volatile orbs, as well as components for different foods and crafts. Your craftsmanship is a vital component to your survival, as you will have to think twice about what you wear for the different climates. From scorching desert to frozen peaks, humid swamp, and dry heat, where only the strongest will survive.
All right, Conan Exiles out of early access May 8th. We'll reach back out to our friend Jens Erik, and if maybe he's got some time here in the coming weeks, get him back on the show to promote, obviously, them being out of early access now, talk about some of the struggles they've had getting it out of early access. And I mean, ask the important question, which is, how do you, and we asked him this last time, but now I'd ask him again, how do you describe this game to somebody that played it on launch day when it was an absolute effing dumpster fire? How do you win that person back? And we asked him that flat out last time, and he had a good answer. And I'd like to hear, how that's morphed now that the game is so much more advanced. So Conan Exiles out of early access.
We'll be playing that in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So pretty much, well, not this game of the week, but the game of the week after. We'll discuss in Discord about setting up a server for that, how we want to accomplish it. Because I was told Nick, I really want to have us put a serious effort, because there's a lot to that game that we have not seen as a group.
Yes.
And I think that if we really dug into it, I think we'd have a lot of fun, just like we had a lot of fun with Ark. And so I think that can be a very serious contender as well.
Yes. So we'll do that here in 2 weeks. And coming up this week, and you've got no excuse not to play, is going to be a game that we're talking about earlier, which is in this month's, or this current Cry Engine bundle. You've got 14 days to get it, and that is Miscreated. We haven't played Miscreated in a while, but it's obviously it's available now for its lowest price I think I've ever seen for it.
$8.10
It's gone
right
down.
now.
It was $8.11. It's now $8.10. So that price has changed here. So you can get that for $8. Pick it up. Join us Friday night, and if you buy it on,
And it supports the show as well, which helps us get to packs.
So if you head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, you can click on the Humble Bundle link, navigate to the homepage. When you buy the bundle, it helps support the broadcast. It's an affiliate program like you've seen with, what the hell is that? It's an affiliate program like we have with Amazon or with anything else. So when you buy, a portion of it gets sent over to us, and as Brian says, it supports our trip out to PAX and stuff like that. So,
yes.
All
right. So let's just mention one thing is the Forest came out of early access.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of time to go into that. They have a huge list of updates. I mean, this is their 1.0.
We can probably cover that
they're
next
doing.
week. I think probably.
We'll cover it next week because there's so much here. There's like 15 pages of updates, 10 to 15 pages of updates here. So we will go and we'll dig into the Forest, see if we can get some video, more information on that. And then Unturned came out with an update to some of their maps. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. And Life is Feudal put out a couple updates this week. And then we'll talk a little bit about Radical Heights next week.
Yeah, we've got some
save
news.
that since we're so over on time.
Yes, we've got some news on that as well. Real quickly before we wrap up the show, got quick current players, an abbreviated version of current players coming to you right now. Quickly playing H1Z1, King of the Kill for the time being, I guess. 3,030 currently playing that. The 24-hour peak 7,589 with that was the 24-hour peak with a 7-day peak of 10,204. Massive drop off on H1Z1. Move over to Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 24,249 with a 24-hour peak of 45,318. Your 7-day peak, 53,943. And real quick, wrapping it up here, everybody's favorite, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, currently playing 280,203, the 24-hour peak 1.9 million with a 7-day peak of 2,028,515. So that'll do current players there. That'll wrap it up on that front. And as it seems like the past couple weeks we've been running late on time and such. So hopefully, I mean, it's good. It's a good problem to have, but it just sucks that we've got to rush through so many of our notes because there's a whole bunch of stuff we'd love to get to, and we'll do our best to get to some of that stuff.
I don't think my wife would let us turn this into a 3-hour show.
Most weeks we probably could. We absolutely could.
I know.
No,
it's crazy.
Probably not. So,
all right. So let's go and we'll do tip of the week and then the game giveaway after that.
What's tip of the week, Brian?
So, tip of the week's where we go through and either give a general gaming tip, sometimes for a specific game. This week it is going to be, I can say that specific. Yeah. So this week it's going to be The Forest, since they just came out of early access. So this is tip of the week. All right. So in The Forest, one thing people usually don't pay attention to, but strength is something that is actually very important. Strength is something that when performing an attack, it helps to damage, or first of all, say how many attacks you can do, because you use up your calories and things like that as you do your attacks, and you try to conserve it, because if you aren't careful in The Forest, you could sit there and lose all of your strength. You actually diminish your strength down. So you can gain, so in one day inside of The Forest, you can only gain or lose 2 strength. But this count can be, they say, keep in mind, this count can be reset when saving or exiting because of their weird save system. But this allows your player to gain as much strength as you can in one day. Then once you reach that cap of strength, you don't get any more benefit out of it. You hit that cap. But calories, and then that's based on what you eat in the game. those are required for strength to be gained. So if you're not eating enough in the game, you will slowly lose strength, and it will affect how you actually play the rest of the game. Um, so they say that the only way to raise strength is by swinging a weapon. And that's how they have it set right now. We'll see after this patch. I'll have to dig through. I didn't see any change to that. But you need to consume calories, and then you have to swing a weapon, maybe chopping down trees or attacking things, and that increases your strength. And so if you're playing this game, that's something that just be careful that you're not running around swinging an axe and doing all these things and not consuming enough calories, because then you'll diminish your strength and you could actually get it to where your character's weaker over time if you're continually saving the game. This is something where they call calorie loading, and that's where you go through and you raise your strength and then what they call maintain your weight. I mean, it's just like real life. They say you need 3,000 calories to raise 2 strength, and it takes 426 swings of the weapon to do that. So as soon as you wake up, you'll consume about 3,000 to 4,000 calories, and that will last you the entire day. You don't have to worry about checking your stats throughout the day if you do that. So you can do the calorie loading method, but just keep in mind that if you don't understand why your strength is going down, that is in effect in this, and you need to keep an eye on it. And hopefully, we'll be able to play this as a group and really get into it, because this game we'll go over the patch next week, but they've done a lot to this game in this last patch. So that is tip of the week.
So there you go.
All right. Yes. So, all right. So are we ready to do this giveaway?
Yes, sir.
All right. I was giving one person one chance. I'm delaying a little bit so they have an opportunity to enter, because they were 4 cans short, and get a can per minute in this. And so I think I did that long enough to where they may be able to enter. Hopefully they're watching and they can enter one more time before I hit roll here. So, all right. Hopefully this game, we'll be playing it. We play it usually Saturday nights.
Yes, that's typically what happens. Yep.
So if you have this game, just jump into Discord sometime on a Saturday night. We all hang out and pick a game, play different games. Usually end up with Uno for the relaxation period, and it's a lot of fun. So here we go. We will pick. Congratulations, Tech Zone 707, and I know he has this game.
Yeah.
What a cheater!
No, it's
that's Sean.
Yeah, of course that's Sean.
Sean. All right. Well, it's fine. Maybe he'll give it away to somebody. Maybe he has a friend who wants to play. Maybe he has a girlfriend he's courting, and he wants to.
That's a good.
That's my. Yeah. Get her hooked.
Okay.
Rather than going out to the clubs on Friday, Saturday night, she's like, let's play some board games.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
that's what they're thinking.
Oh, it's a very good thinking. So, yep, we play board games typically on Saturday night is when we hop in those, and overall it's typically
usually about 6 people, six to 7 people.
Yeah,
in there.
6-7 people. We typically have a pretty good time. So, yeah.
Saul says tabletop, the panty dropper. Yes.
Yeah, and we typically have a pretty good time when we play that. So, hopefully you can join us.
All right. So. Is there anything else we need to cover before we roll on out of here?
No, I think we are good to go.
All right. If you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, you can also check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, go check out our website. If you want to play some games with us, maybe you purchase this Miscreated in the bundle and you want to play with us on Friday night, make sure that you come jump into our Discord. It's on infectionpodcast.com. Just click the green button on the right-hand side, and we'll get you to be a part of that. We'll pick a server and we'll announce it inside of that, inside of Discord, and you can join us. So if you enjoy the show, make sure you support us through Humble Bundles, but also you can support us by giving reviews, ratings on whatever platform that you listen to or view us on. And we also have our Amazon links, and we'll be announcing here, different ways that you can donate to help support getting us to PAX. We'll make a goal.
Yep, next week.
Doing that next couple of weeks. So thank you very much for listening, and that's all I got.
Alrighty, Brian, thank you so much. Appreciate it, and we'll see you Friday night for some Miscreated on Discord right around 8:00 Eastern. And then, of course, here we're live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/. patreon.com/infection podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for episode 172 of Infection, the Survival Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. We'll see you next time.